fractions today and subtract. But in order to add fractions, like if we're going to add, what do you have to have in order to add those? Oh, they need the same bottom number, common denominator, right? So what would the common denominator be if I had a 3 and a 2? What's 3 times 2? Right, good, it'd be 6. And the lesson today is a lot about getting the equivalent fraction. If your common denominator is going to be 6, we need to find out what the equivalent fraction, what would those fractions be equal to if we got a denominator of 6. And remember, the rule is, just like equations, you can multiply both sides by whatever you want, you can divide by whatever you want. Same thing with a fraction. We can multiply by whatever we want as long as we multiply the top and the bottom by the same number. So what you're going to ask yourself is, what did I multiply 3 by to get a 6? 3 times what is 6? 2. Oh, thank you. 3 times 2 is 6. So we have to multiply the bottom by 2. And you know what that means? If you're going to multiply the bottom by 2, then you also have to multiply the top by 2. What is 1 times 2? 2, right? Same thing on this bottom fraction. You have to ask, what did I multiply 2 by to get 6? 2 times what is 6? Right? Times 3. So on top, what is 1 times 3? So those are our equivalent fractions, right? 1/3 is equivalent to 2/6, and 1/2 is equivalent to 3/6. Now you're probably like, we already know how to do that. Yes, we do know how to do that. But today we're going to look at finding equivalent fractions when you have not only numbers, but we're going to throw in some letters. And we're not really going to actually add them yet. Today we're going to practice just getting the common denominators, getting the equivalent fractions. So they will ask you, this is the problem, and they will ask you, find the equivalent fraction. So like over here, you're going to have to figure out what you multiplied the bottom by so that you know what to multiply the top by. So there, you notice it has a number part and a letter part. Don't get your undies in a bundle looking at it thinking, oh no, oh no. Morning, Julia. We're going to do the number part, and then we'll do the letter part. Number, I've got a 3, 18. You ask yourself, 3 times what gives me 18? 6, thank you. So I have to multiply 3 times 6 to get 18. Now do the letter part. I have 1A over here. I have 2 A's over there. What do you need to multiply this 1A by to get an A squared? A by 1A? Would you agree? A times A is A squared? Yes? So if we're multiplying the bottom by 6A, that means we have to multiply the top by 6A. What is 8 times 6A?
48.
Oh, thank you. It's 48A. And that's all you're doing for today. So your answer, that would be what you need to fill in. And I'd like to see you do this on your paper so that you know your answers are. You know, the more you try to do in your head, the more likely you are to make a mistake. So there's one that says, find the least common denominator. Oh boy. Yeah. Let's do a couple others. How about something like this? How about something like that? How about something like that? Well, the first thing I would do, see this thing? It's got two terms instead of just one. I would parentheses. If you have like 2x plus 5, 2x minus 5, put parentheses around that. Now you're going to ask yourself, from here to here, 3 times what gives me a 15? Right, 5. So times 5, I have 1x, and how many over here? 1. Do I need to multiply by any x's? No, I have 1, I started with 1, I ended with 1. I don't need to multiply. So the only thing I'm multiplying by is 5. The only thing I'm multiplying by is 5. And you know what I would do with that? I would just leave it like this. It's 5 times this whole thing. I would just leave it as 5 times that whole thing. You don't need to multiply it out. I would just leave it. Right? That'll make your job even easier. I would just leave it. 1 to 10, 1 to 36. How about something like this? How about something like, oh, let's go 2y over, yeah, we'll just go 2 over 5x squared y. Oh, because it's in blue. Because it's in blue. 2, 5x squared y. It's hard to see those other colors a little bit. There. So what are you multiplying by? 5 times what is 20?
4.
4. So I need to multiply times 4. What else? I have x squared, but I need x to the third. Do I need to multiply by any x's? How many? 1. I have y, and I need a y squared. Multiply by 1y, right? So on top, we're going to have to multiply by 4x, y. What will that give us? Right, good. 8x, y. Do you think we're good? How about something like this? Rewrite the group of fractions with their lowest common denominator. Do you have questions on any of that first? Anybody? 1 over, let's do 3xy squared. And I have 2 over x squared y. And it says rewrite with the lowest common denominator. We need to rewrite that both with the lowest common denominator. What that means is you're going to need to come over to the side or on your paper somewhere. Now, you know, over here they told you what you needed in the bottom. Now before you can see what you multiply by, you have to figure out what the denominator is. And again, it's going to be easiest, first do the number part and then do the letter part. Well, I have a 3 and we assume it's a 1. If you have a 3 and a 1, what's your common denominator going to be? 3, the biggest, right? So your common denominator is going to have a 3. It's the biggest. So now you're going to look, I have 1x and I have 2 x's. What's more, 1 or 2? Obviously, 2. So you need to take the biggest number that you have for your common denominator. 1x, 2x. So my common denominator is going to have an x squared. Does that make sense? Same thing with the y's. I have 2 y's and I have 1 y. How many will my common denominator need then? Right, 2. Agree? And then once you figure out your common denominator, now you have to ask, what did I multiply this by to get this? 3 times 1. I have 1x and I need 2. So you're going to need to multiply by an x. I have a y squared and I only need a y squared. I don't need any more y's, right? So on top, I'm going to multiply by 1x. What will I get here? 1 times 1x. It's just 1x. You can put the 1 in front if you want, or you don't have to. It's up to you. Does that make sense? Bottom, what do I multiply this by to get this? I assume there's a 1. 1 times what is 3? You got to multiply by a 3. 2 x's. 2 x's. I don't need any more x's. 1 y, but I need a y squared. So I need to multiply by a y, right? Times 3y. So on top, times 3y. What will that give me? Right, good, 6y. And that is as far as you have to go today. We're not actually going to keep adding them yet. We're just going to get the denominators. We're just going to get the denominators. Make sense? Make sense? Questions? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? Does anyone have a question? So I believe that would be page 261, 262, 261, 262, 261, 262. Oh, what the heck? How many times did I just say 261, 262? 1 to 10, and then I have 30 33 to 36. Oh, it's almost Valentine's Day. Well, not all.